So, Moose, you want to set this up?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I was actually, this is the first time I get to set something up on a podcast.
Hey,
this is like
new
an honorary
season.
moment. I got
New
yeah,
season.
This is a little different. Okay. So, I was, I've always been, we've talked about this multiple times in terms of just Dwayne Johnson and the different types of brands and companies and businesses that he's built. So we were like always planning on like, okay, how can we implement this into the show? Because again, that's definitely someone that needs to be highlighted. But what happened recently, this collaboration that he pulled off was definitely worth noting. So for those who don't know, The Rock, AKA Dwayne Johnson, just signed a deal with the UFC to give them his signature sneaker line, which is a shoe that he has with Under Armour. So we'll play the clip and then we'll break this down a little bit deeper because I think this is a very, very smart move.
First of all, it's incredible exposure for the brand of Project Rock. And again, this is why I am so grateful. I put so much heart and blood, sweat, and respect into the brand of Project Rock because it is a reflection and an anchor of who I am in my DNA. But beyond, I think, the brand exposure and these two brands coming together, it's deeper than that to me. It is, these fighters are on an island, and I have such tremendous respect for these fighters, the men and women. And that island that they're on, they make for the ones who walk the walk, and they make that walk to the iconic Octagon, and they put it all out on the line.
So really, really cool here, right? First, let's just kind of take you back to how this came to be. And then we'll talk a little bit about why we think this is a good move and how you can possibly benefit from something like this if, you're in a similar position or how to get yourself in that position. So first off, if you notice The Rock, he's probably one of the best big celebrities that built a personal brand, right? He's really, really good at just pulling out his phone, especially when he's in the gym and talking about his values, the things that he cares about, his hobbies, and just showing you a behind the scenes of his life. And this is something that many and all of us can do, right? We don't need a crazy camera crew, but through that, a lot of people started engaging with his social media. So you'll notice that his social media from the US, I think if not over 100 million, it's definitely close to that. But what happened shortly thereafter is he signed an agreement or he signed a deal with Under Armour to create this sneaker line for him, right? And it was like pretty much sneakers and what they call Project Rock, which is all types of gear, right? Shirts, hoodies, the whole nine. So you fast forward a little bit now and you notice that he takes that deal or that product line and he gives it to the UFC to be their official sponsor because UFC recently cut ties with Reebok after Adidas sold Reebok away. So they kind of just let that go. Now, here's one thing to think about. Number one, UFC is a multi-billion-dollar brand. Shout out to my good friend Nick who told me about this, but they have 48 of the 52 weeks, they have events airing every weekend. 48 out of 52 weeks, they've had fights airing every weekend. So they're almost becoming like a new global or main sport when you think of like NBA, NFL, MLB, like they're really out here and they have a full long season. So a multi-billion-dollar brand airing almost 48 weeks or 50 weeks a year, and then you wear that, or you give them your gear to wear. Now here's the part that I think is so interesting, Nix. The Rock didn't go out and say, I'm going to make my own shoe. I'm going to design my own sneaker. I'm going to start my own sneaker company and take that and give it to the UFC so that I can generate more sales. The Rock partners with Under Armour and uses that signature line to give to the UFC. So the part for me that I think is so fascinating is we have to start, I know for our community, and we encourage it also on the platform and on the podcast when we talk about ownership. But sometimes you want to be strategic about what type of ownership you go after.
Yeah.
Right? Not all ownership. So just because we're in content creation or we use cameras and mics, we don't have to go out and say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start my own camera company. I'm gonna start designing cameras. It's like, okay, oh yes, we get ownership, but you don't have to go into something that's not in your lane or in your niche. So I like the idea of let me partner with a company or with something that I use regularly. It's a part of my DNA and my brand. And because we have a great relationship, I can boost sales, earn more revenue, bring more attention, and it's a win-win for everybody by putting it with a major contributor or a major brand, a growing brand like the UFC. So I think that to me, for me, Nick, that's the greatest part about it. It shows a very community approach to building businesses and sharing a brand, as opposed to saying, you know what, nope, I'm off on my own. I'm going to start building sneakers, or I'm going to start making sneakers. And it's like, it's a waste. It don't make sense. It's like, no, you're an actor. You make movies, you act, you keep doing that, but utilize some of these other channels to help you bring more awareness or more revenue, and then share that with other areas that need it. So that for me, I thought was really cool and should give us a new way to think about as business people. We don't, like I said, don't got to go out and make your own cameras, but think about, hey, can I partner with a Sony? Can I partner with a Canon and then use their cameras and give them to my students because I'm teaching people how to shoot maybe? You know, like that. That's another way to think about ownership instead of having to go out and necessarily make your own things all the time.
Yeah, I love that it's a combination of ownership as well as relationships. Mm-hmm. So he's over 20 years of friends with Dana White. I said it right? Dana
Yep. That's
I never want to screw that man's name, right? But so when how do I put this? When they dropped Reebok, it's like, oh, let me go with my friend who's already killing the game, who's backed by Under Armour, right? This could work out. He was a wrestler. He understands the training situation. This can actually work. And now this is going to be available for all UFC fighters during their open workouts, walkout, locker room situations, which is huge. It's amazing for brand awareness. And I wasn't even super aware of, I remember Under Armour announcing like a global partnership with him, but I totally didn't even know about this whole other brand that he had created, the sneakers, the gear. And then I'm looking at different clips and how they strategized the mission statement for the brand. It's really interesting, but I love that the core, maybe not the core, but a good amount of why this deal happened was because of the relationship. It was because The Rock and Dana White, I always want to make sure I say his name right, but those two had a long-term relationship that then now is going to turn into a multi-year deal with each other's brand. I think that's amazing. If you could do things with friends, with powerful brands, because The Rock alone has a power brand.
Yeah.
And that the UFC is a power brand. That they could come together because of friendship. I think that's really dope.
Absolutely.